Welcome back. This is video 4 in the Mini Musicianship Series, and today we're doing the Castaway. The Castaway is one of my favorite pieces that I've ever composed. It's not overly complicated, it's simple, and yet it's very emotional. This is a piece about loneliness and longing and hope. You don't have to think about a castaway on an island somewhere. You can think about anything you like when you're playing it. I like that this piece has a lot of contrast between harmonies. And what I mean by that is the quality of the chords often can go from major in one measure to minor in another measure. And it really makes you think about why the music sounds happy or sad or hopeful or lonely. So keep that in mind when you're playing. Listen for the quality of the chord. The harmonies in this piece stay the same for each measure. And what I mean by that is that each measure has a certain chord attached to it. For example, E minor in the first measure, and E minor in the second measure, with a minor 7th on the top. And then if you go into measure, let's say 13, that's a C major chord for 2 measures, and then a D7 chord. The harmonic changes happen fairly slow. Every 1 or 2 bars they will change. I feel like this gives you time to sort of settle into the quality of that chord, the major or minor chord, and it helps you sort of identify the emotions. It's in E minor. I would practice E minor scale. So E to E with an F sharp. Also practice the E minor harmonic scale. This piece is in 3/4 time, which means there's 3 quarter notes per measure, but I do like to play it with a 1 beat per bar feel. Because of the moving 8th notes, if you were to play it with a 3 beat per bar feel, it would feel a little bit too static and the music wouldn't move forward quite as easily. So think of that when you're playing through it. You want to have it feel like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Instead of 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. This piece has a lot of pedal in it, a lot of overlapping pedal at that, but it's also very forgiving in that if some of the harmonies blur together, that's okay, and sometimes I think it's good. There's some hand crossing in this piece, so make sure that you practice the left hand. Like that. Hard because you're crossing up to a black note. It's a little bit hard, so that'll take a little bit of practice, and then also practice it with just your right hand sort of sitting in between, because you've got to clear that hand. So that's one way to practice the crossing notes. A lot of the feelings in this song come from the direction of the notes. For example, if the intervals are descending, they sound a little bit more desolate, a little bit more lonely, and a little bit more sad compared with the notes that rise. So pay close attention to the direction the notes are going. A really good skill to practice in this song is 2-note slurs. 2-note slurs are often felt down up. But in this case, it's sort of an up down because it comes on a weak beat going to a strong. In any case, they shouldn't be even. You don't want it to sound like this. You want to come off the last note gracefully. And you don't want the first one to sound too accented because it is on the weak beat. So give that a try. The right hand will need a lot of practice getting the 8th notes very even without having the thumb stick out too much. Because the thumb comes on an offbeat, you don't want that to stick out. Like that. You want it to be all smooth. You don't really even need an accent on the downbeat. I would aim just to have it all smooth and as legato as possible. It's also going to be in the background compared to the left hand, which is the melody. In the middle, when you have the large crescendos and decrescendos, that's going to take some practice because you've got eighth notes. That you have to keep playing at a steady pace in a legato way, and then also build those dynamics up and back down again. So that's going to take some practice, especially hands separate. And in the left hand, this is measure 13. You can almost build each two measure section a little bit. So the first one will be less, then more. And then you're at the top and it comes down on this one. Now for the next set, this is going to start in measure 19. You're going to start low. Build it again. By that major chord at the end, that was a G major chord, it sounded so hopeful and uplifting. Okay, and here's a performance of the Castaway for you. See if you can hear some of those things we talked about in this video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.